Welcome to our series of video capsules to help you better understand the McGill University Pension Plan. This video will provide an overview of the different types of pension plans available, the design of the McGill University Pension Plan, or MUPP, and identifying which part you are participating in. There are different types of pension plans. In a defined contribution plan, both you and your employer contribute on a regular basis. The funds are invested and grow over time. The amount you will receive depends on how much is invested and the return on the investment. In a defined benefit plan, the amount you will receive is based on a formula that takes into account your years of service and your earnings. Finally, there is a hybrid plan which combines elements of both plans. It helps protect against the investment risks associated with a defined contribution plan. The MUPP is a single plan with two parts. Part A is a hybrid plan type, and Part B is a defined contribution plan type. Members who joined McGill prior to January 1, 2009 are in Part A, whereas members who joined McGill on or after that date are in Part B. This video capsule will focus on Part A, the hybrid segment of the MUPP. Meet Robert. Robert started working at the university as a full-time employee on January 1, 2000, earning a salary of $40,000. At that time, he was 30 years old. Although Robert could have delayed enrollment for 5 years, he joined right away. Since Robert joined the plan before January 1, 2009, he is a member of Part A of the MUPP. Now let's see how Robert's contributions work. Robert and McGill make contributions to the defined contribution segment of the MUPP, and as an employee in Quebec, contributions are also made to the Quebec Pension Plan, or QPP. Let's take a look at QPP contributions first. Each year, Robert and McGill both pay equal shares of QPP contributions on earnings above the basic exemption and up to the QPP earnings limit, which is also known as the YMPE, or the year's maximum pensionable earnings limit. Effective January 1, 2024, QPP contributions will also be made on earnings between the QPP's earnings limit and the YAMPE, or the year's additional maximum pensionable earnings limit. Once either of these limits is reached, QPP contributions will stop until the beginning of the following year. We'll see how these QPP contributions affect the contribution rate of the MUPP in a minute. Next, let's take a look at MUPP contributions which depend on your age. On earnings below the QPP earnings or YAMPE limit, Robert, who is between aged 40 and 49 and currently earns $80,000 annually, contributes 5.2%, while McGill contributes 5.7%. However, when the higher of the QPP earnings or the YAMPE limit is reached during the year, all contributions to the QPP stop, and 1.8% more is contributed by both McGill and Robert to the MUPP until the end of the year. This is why employees who earn an annual salary greater than the QPP earnings limit, or the YAMPE, will see a change in their QPP and pension contributions on their pay stub toward the end of the year. In Robert's case, after he reaches the QPP earnings limit, he contributes 7%, and McGill contributes 7.5% until the end of the year. In addition to regular pension contributions, Robert and McGill are required to make additional contributions, referred to as cost-sharing contributions. In Robert's case, the hybrid segment of the MUPP includes a defined minimum pension based on years of service and earnings. At the earlier of the settlement or attaining age 65, If Robert's defined contribution balance based on the investment return of the balanced account is below the defined benefit minimum, then a supplementary amount is added to Robert's account. Let's fast forward to the end of 2034. Robert is 64 years old and he's ready to retire. Since January 1st, 2000, Robert has been contributing to the defined contribution segment of the MUPP. It is now worth $802,000. Let's see if he is entitled to a supplement based on the defined benefit formula. The formula for Part A is 1.8% times Robert's average best earnings times years of service. From this, we subtract the QPP component, which is calculated by taking 0.58% of Robert's average best earnings up to the QPP earnings limit times Robert's years of service. The resulting amount is the minimum pension before the retirement age adjustment. When we input Robert's numbers, we get $56,844. Because Robert is retiring at 64, 12 months before his 65th birthday, his minimum pension is reduced by 0.25% for each month he falls short of age 65. That works out to a reduction of 3% or $1,705, so his total annual minimum pension would be $55,139. This amount is converted to a lump sum using a transfer value. The transfer value of the defined benefit segment is based on standards established by the Canadian Institute of Actuaries. For purposes of this example, let's assume in 2034 the transfer value equals $820,905. The transfer value is then compared to his defined contribution balance, assuming he had only invested in the balanced account, which was the case with Robert. Because the defined contribution balance is less, Robert will receive a defined benefit supplement for the difference. Now let's summarize Robert's retirement situation. Robert started in 2000 at age 30 and retired at age 64 with a final salary of just over $118,000. After 34 years of participating in the MUPP, Robert retired with a pension account value of just under $821,000. What if Robert retired at age 65? His defined contribution segment would have been worth $870,500. The annual minimum pension would increase to $60,660 per annum, with no adjustment necessary for early retirement. The equivalent transfer value would have been $903,000, and the defined benefit supplement would have equaled $32,500. One additional year of participation in the MUPP would have increased Robert's final value by $82,000. A word of caution. Depending on prevailing interest rates and varying circumstances, the impact of adding or removing one or more years of service can be very different from one situation to the next.